Well, here we go. We have finished our bit of intro music, which I love. We were looking for some more music tonight, and we'll add some songs as we go along in the next few days. But hey, here we are on another Monday night. And Mr. Langford is trying to tell us that he lives just outside the enclave of Queensland called the Barossa Valley. And I know some of you will say, why is that an enclave of Queensland? Well, that's because it's good things happen in the Barossa Valley. And it's been apparent for a while that the Barossa Valley has not been really appreciated by those people that live in that part. So we've just sort of absorbed it into Queensland, just so they all know where the good wine is. Hey, everybody. Great to see you on a Gold Monday, 19th of July. Here we go. In the new financial year. Isn't that a weird thing, like that we have a financial year that starts in July? Interesting. One of the good things about America is their financial year starts whenever you start your business. It's an interesting way to spread out all the work that's got to be done around the end of financial year. But hey, let's get amongst this because we have some great things to talk about tonight, and we look forward to even more things in the coming weeks. Everyone goes forward together. Let's not forget it. Don't forget it. Make sure you reach out if you need help. So welcome, everybody. Here we are once again on a Gold Monday. We're going to give you some information about what's happening in the website, what's happening going forward, and where we're at with all of the programs that we're running through at the moment. Let's have a look at our intro video. There we go, people. couple of things in that video that we'll talk about tonight, like the bank bail-in laws. We have some information coming in from New Zealand that will impact us, and a few other things that are happening around the world, and some information about gold. So welcome, everybody. Just see Janet Hort has joined us. Kate Longley's here from Vic. It's Kate. Hello. Levi Rex. Ms. Creamer is here from the Gold Coast. Lyndall from Charters Towers. Carolyn's here from Kenmore. Mr. Smith is here from Oxley. I believe, and I wouldn't be sure, I've heard a rumour he's the mayor of Oxley. We should just check that out. We'll get a photo of him next week with his regalia. And Mr. Saravalli from downtown almost Adelaide, on the verge of being in the enclave of Queensland called the Barossa Valley. Okay, let's get into this. Remember, we're expressing our views as affiliates only. We don't make policy. We don't represent any of these companies, and we don't give financial advice. Really, really simple. So make sure that you follow up on what we tell you. This is an educational process. We have a lot of great programs just starting now, and there's more to come. So let's talk tonight about one of our merchants, Easy Shopping Cards, one of our sponsors, and Easy Shopping Cards has been around for a while. KO, I used to wonder what KO was, but now I know because I've seen it. It's an app that gives you all the sport broadcasts, etc. So those of you that are following the NBA finals, for example, like myself, I've got bandages all over my wrists because my team lost the last game. It's a great app, and I've got no idea how to pay for it with a gift card, but I'm going to do some research. We've got eBay and we've got Dan Murphy's. So you can get a rebate even when you buy something on eBay. The same with Dan Murphy's. So, and have a look over there in the right-hand corner. We've got Endota Spa for the ladies. Now, I know that works because I've used a few of them as presents for ladies, and they loved it. So, Endota Spa, do the whole toenail to top of the head, look after you for a day job. So then you've got Rebel Sports, BCF, and Super Cheap. Every man's dream. What else could you want? You get those three in your pocket, you got everything covered. Remember, you're getting 2 to 5%. I think on those three, you get about 5% rebate. Who else we got? JB Hi-Fi. I've used that plenty of times. Woolworths Wish gift card and Amazon. There's even, you can buy groceries, Amazon and eBay. How many other items that you buy are outside of that? So you can buy groceries, you can buy anything on Amazon and JB Hi-Fi. Go down there and buy a keyboard like I had to the other day. I've got a laptop that's about 3-4 months old, and the keyboard has started to act up. So yes, it's still under warranty, but they want to have it for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 weeks while they fix it. So the outcome for me was go down to JB Hi-Fi, get a gift card and buy a keyboard and just plug it in. That's what I'm doing. So at some point, I will send this laptop away and get it tuned up while it's under warranty. I've got 3 years to do that. But the easy solution for me was to go down to JB Hi-Fi, buy a keyboard. And I've managed to get myself talked into buying one of the keyboards that have got switches in them. So they're just like the old, typewriters. So they're quite long travel buttons, but they're rugged. And given that we blokes tend to be a little bit tough on equipment, what can I say? We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Okay, so Cassie operates out of Waranga. It's west of the Dalby process, and that's why the phone reception is spotty at best. She's had almost no internet for 2 weeks. It's been quite interesting because of a lightning strike that blew up a whole heap of cables and took Telstra that long to get there to work it out. But she is there. You can get her any time of the day, as long as it's after 6 a.m. and before 6 p.m. Because after 6 p.m. she turns off and that's it. Okay, so why are we here? Righto, let's have a look at this. We're a group of like-minded people focused on ensuring that we survive the economic turmoil around us. And if you're not realizing that the world is changing, you need to pay attention and do some research. Our world, the world we grew up with, is gone. It is becoming high-tech, a lot of pressure, and everything that you would think that you would like to do is being modified. For example, if you want to go down the street tomorrow and buy a bottle of wine, you better be wearing a mask. If you want to go to the football, you're allowed to go there without a mask, because the virus doesn't transfer at football games or cricket matches. Only happens in your corner store or when you meet someone on the footpath. It's absolutely ridiculous, but we don't want to get into that because we'll get this video taken down from YouTube. They've already done that to one of mine because I talked about the Heineken flu. Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's just run through a couple of these headlines. Inflation hit another 13-year high and expect gold price to go up. That's from Kitco News. You just became more vulnerable. So Lynette Zhang is talking about here that there's a new financial black hole that's just opened up, and it will put the economy into the black hole. All of these 6 videos that I talk about, the links to them will be in the description on the YouTube channel. So when you follow up on the YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe and do all that stuff, and you'll be able to get there and see the links to all of these videos so you don't have to go and search them out. Now, this is a good one. Forget transitory inflation. It's far from its peak. So this is from Stansbury Research. The lady on the left used to work for Kitco News, but she's gone off to work somewhere else. She's had some amazing interviews, and yep, inflation. That's what they're talking about. Have a look at this bloke. This is the guy from Brisbane, Heiser says, and he's talking about, because he's an architect by trade, he's talking about the fact that when you get a new house plan these days, they have a Zoom zone in them. So you can go there and do your Zoom calls. How cool is that? That's an entire shift in an industry. Now we have Zoom rooms or Zoom zones. Amazing. A few years ago when we started to use Zoom, everyone used to look cross-eyed at you when you said, we'll do a Zoom call. Now it's in mainstream. Everybody does it. And have a look at this guy, Mr. Menarino. Rapid inflation and another possible economic collapse. He's been banned a number of times, as in had his YouTube channel closed for a week. But the thing I like about him is he just talks about the facts. He doesn't color it. He doesn't try and slant it in his direction. He's just telling you what's happening. And he's been right on the money for a number of changes in the world. So if you look at what's going on, you'll come to this one. Chaos is coming. The Fed just admitted inflation could persist. Now, this is after many months of the US government telling everybody, don't worry about inflation. It's not going to persist. It's going to be transitory. It's going to be there for a few days and then go away. No, it's not. Inflation is not as easily controlled as they would like you to believe. There are plenty of countries and governments that have thought they could control inflation, and they've been very unsuccessful at keeping it in check. Eventually they do, because it goes through an up cycle and a down cycle, etc., and eventually it starts to even out again, and then our elected officials step up and say, look at that, aren't we so wonderful because we've controlled inflation? Yeah, I don't think so. In fact, don't think there's too many politicians that really have a clue of what's happening to us, the little people in the world, in their electorates. And they just don't seem interested enough to go and find out, let alone actually do something about it. Righto. What do you think is going on? These little snippets that I put up every week are well worth listening to. The guy that does the Zoom zone in new houses, he lives here in Brisbane at Coorparoo. So he's coming from where we are and makes comments based on what he sees in the market. Well worth listening to. Okay, moving right along. In our introductory video, we talk about bail-ins. And look, I've had this conversation with many people over the last couple of years, and most of them laugh at you or poo-hoo the idea that the government would never let that happen to us. They're always looking after us. They've got our best interests at heart. Right. Okay. I've got a bridge that I can sell you really cheap. And if you look at the information that's coming out of New Zealand, you'll know why I'm being so facetious. Because the bail-in laws in New Zealand are aimed at Australian banks. Why is that? The Australian government, and if you talk to the politicians, they all rabbit on about, don't worry, you're protected by the $250,000 financial claim scheme, etc., you're guaranteed, blah, blah, blah. Rubbish. What the Australian government is trying to do is get you to pay attention to something else. It's ridiculous that they think we don't notice. There's plenty of evidence of the Queensland government, for example, sweeping super funds in the last few years. Billions, with a B, billions of dollars swept out of those super funds that belongs to the members of the fund. The government thinks, nah, they're doing too well, we'll take a bunch of that money. What is the point in you having a superannuation fund if every time you turn around, our government is dragging money out of it? You now can look at 50 different ways that you can have a private superannuation fund. So in an effort to keep everybody in the current system where the fees keep the banks afloat, etc., the tax office is trying to stop people that don't have $250,000 in their super fund from having a private fund so that you continue to pay the fees and lose money. It's an absolute rort. And somebody, I wish I knew how to do it, needs to hold these politicians to account. Let me get off that soapbox before I get carried away. If any Australians were assured by the bit about the guarantee they'll be shocked to learn that the deliberations of the New Zealand government about its plans for a statutory bail-in law, which make it clear that New Zealand deposits will be bailed in and insured or guaranteed deposits are not automatically exempted. Now, you'll be reading that and thinking, well, we got nothing to worry about because New Zealand can sweep New Zealand accounts. Big deal. We're in Australia. Okay, righto. Hold that thought. Keep thinking. New Zealand, in the process of overhauling its banking system, the process that they're revamping is driven in part by rising concern about systemic bank risk, which has prompted the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, RBNZ, to demand that riskiest of the banks hold higher capital than other banks. Okay, we're in Australia. We go, oh, Kiwis. Yeah, you do that over there. Yeah, we're all fine here. Thank you very much. Have a look at this. The riskiest banks in New Zealand happen to be the big four Australian-owned banks. And the risks New Zealand is worried about happen to be from their Australian activities. Our banks are in trouble, very big trouble. And they're doing everything in their power to stop you getting money out of your super fund, getting money out of the bank to buy metal, all of that stuff. New Zealand is worried that their banks are going to fail because of what's happening here in Australia. Not New Zealand, here. Now, if you're sitting there tonight saying, don't worry about it, I've got a CBA bank account, I'm good. Read that, what's on the screen now. The big four banks own the banks in New Zealand. That's why the New Zealand government is worried about them failing. Wake up, smell the roses, have a look around, do some research. Australian politicians claim that a bail-in would be unthinkable. But New Zealand proves that A, it won't be unthinkable, and B, it applies to Australia's big four banks, which own all the New Zealand banks. What a surprise. Everything that our politicians have been telling us about the banks is modified, smoothed over, smoke blown over it, turn the lights down really dark so you can't see. We're in a world of hurt here. And much as I love to bag our Kiwi friends from across the ditch because it's a whole lot of fun and I take it on the chin from them coming the other way, we're tied together. And the fact that their banking system is looking at our bank saying this is a problem and our own government isn't at all concerned and is trying to tell you that there'll be no bail-in, I'd like to know where we could take these politicians just so they can get a touch-up behind the caravan in the bush and then we can turn them loose with two black eyes. It's hideous what they're trying to tell us. Now, there's been a whole lot of information come out in the recent weeks about Basel III. What do you think is going to happen? Well, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, a whole lot of the major banks in the world are now trying to defuse Basel III because they don't want to comply. Now, we'll find out what's going to happen in the coming weeks because they've got until about January before it gets really ugly. Let's wait and see. In the meantime, we're collectively going to go down a road that gives us the power to be our own bank. And we'll talk about that tonight, is what's going on. So when you log into the AU4U website and you go to the e-commerce site, there is a picture that comes up and it looks like that. Have you ever wondered why that picture is there? What is that? It looks like sand. Has anyone ever worried that? Yep. I did. I wondered why they had that picture of gold, and I did a fair bit of research. And yes, Martin, ANZ stands for Australia and New Zealand Banking Group Limited. Indeed, we are linked to the Kiwis. Love them to death. We have a number of Kiwis in our crew, and it's a beautiful country. But they're seeing something in our banking industry here that our politicians are trying to smooth over so we don't notice it. Let's talk about the sand. Why do you think gold is like that? Someone going to put a message in there about why, type in a message about why you think that gold pile looks like that. Has anyone got any ideas? There's not too many people that are fast typers. Like myself, it would only take me 5 minutes to type something like that. So it can be barred. Yeah, that's an interesting viewpoint. Yes, you can take that sand and turn it into bars. Exactly right. Let's have a look at the rest of the slides. Here's why that image is like that. Now, if you're looking at that wondering, what the heck is that? That is a gold pan. And that down there is mud, and that bit up there is gold. So that's from just a handful of dirt. They've thrown into the pan, washed it plenty with water, and the gold settles out in the corners because it's heavy, and the mud is elsewhere. That's what panning for gold does. That's alluvial gold. It's pretty easy to pan. You just keep all the heavy stuff at the bottom and you keep washing out the dirt till you end up with the gold left in the seam. And when it gets really, really good, that's a neat little seam of gold there from one handful. That's a pretty amazing outcome from one handful of dirt. This is what happens when you do several hands full. That is raw gold. And you can see that little bit there in the middle, that's really fine sand, gold sand. And there's a chunk up there, that's called a nugget. Now, there's a reason I'm showing you these pictures. Pay attention. That gold right there comes from an area that for many years has been not developed. Looks like we're in the gold business. That is a jar full of raw gold. And you can see different colors in there. And that's because the gold needs to be refined and put into a bar. So whatever gives it different colors, that will be a different alloy. So there'll be silver tied up in that, probably platinum, palladium, a couple of other things like that in small quantities. But that gold you can see right there in those three pictures, that's all being prepared to be shipped to Brisbane. And it looks like we're in the gold business. It's a fantastic outcome. It's the start of our physical arbitrage programs. We will have the ability to handle quite big numbers this way because we're connecting with people in remote areas that are selling gold, raw gold, and we are bringing it to a refinery and then on selling the bullion. Now, at the moment, this is really small quantities because this is what they call a geological sample. Once we get everything tested, approved, gone through the refinery, etc., this is going to ramp up considerably. And just a quick shout out, while we're on this thought process, to Jan McCloskey and Graham Duck, who have worked on this for ages. And we finally got it to the point where one of the individuals on the other end of the process posted on Facebook recently that a picture of raw gold, and they were packaging it, and he said, this is our first shipment going to Brisbane. So this is just an eye-opener, the tip of the iceberg. We are absolutely, I can't even describe how excited I am about it, that we've got access to physical metal that we can arbitrage. And we've got 2 other places that we're working on, different countries that we can buy and sell the gold in and pick up a margin. And that's going to come into the next part of this webinar tonight. I'm going to show you what's going to happen with that. So here's a little video about what happens to that raw gold when we send it to the...
Gold refining employs a variety of technologies which have been developed over thousands of years. 1 troy ounce of gold can now be extracted from 15,000 pounds of low-grade ore, and recycled gold accounts for around 1/3 of the world's supply. Refining processes employ hydrometallurgy and pyrometallurgy in a series of steps to separate, concentrate, and purify. The steps depend on the ore or scrap being processed, as well as the other materials being removed. The differences in physical and chemical properties of materials are used to separate them. Large-scale gold refining operations start with crushing and grinding the ore to liberate the gold from surrounding rock. The gold is then dissolved into solution in a process called leaching. Heap leaching is routinely used to remove gold from ore deposits and tailings. Vat leaching is most frequently used when removing gold from secondary or scrap materials, such as electronic scrap or even jewelry scrap. After leaching, solution concentration and purification steps, such as solvent extraction and ion exchange, are sometimes employed to further concentrate and separate the precious metals. The gold is then brought back to metallic form by either precipitation or electrolysis. Dissolved gold can be precipitated back to metallic gold with either copper or zinc powder, for example. A number of chemical compounds can also be used to precipitate the gold from the solution, including sulfur dioxide gas. The precipitated fine gold is referred to as gold sponge. Electrolysis is generally employed when separating and purifying gold from virtually all substrates. Electrolysis can plate out gold from leach solutions or be used to electro-refine low-grade or mixed alloy gold. Pyrometallurgy involves a variety of melting or other thermal treatment of ores to concentrate or extract metals. The Miller process is a widely used example of reactive gas refining. It was patented in 1867 and is still a very effective process for stripping out silver and base metal impurities from high-grade gold alloys such as doré, produced by many mining operations, and high-grade jewelry scrap. This is done by bubbling pure chlorine gas through molten gold, which reacts with the silver and base metals, forming chloride salts. These salts are insoluble in the molten gold and skimmed from the surface, leaving at minimum 98% pure gold. The purity expected at the end of the final refining processes is at minimum 99.95%. For specific purposes, whether banking and trading or alloy or pharmaceutical manufacture, the purity level required may be as high as 5 nines plus.
Well, that little video is not designed to tell you everything. It's just a way to look at what we're refining and how it works. And yes, some of you did notice the Miller process in there. He was a great bloke, I'm told, but he patented that process some time back. It was a little bit before my time. Clearly, we're related by name only. So, okay. We have access to gold, real physical gold, not ETFs, not bits of paper, real physical gold. And we're going to show you tonight where that's going to show up in your account. So let's look at these website updates. And this is just a quick overview. I'm not going to show you 10,000 hours of it. This is just where you will see it turn up. So this is from the test server that we're playing in at the moment with these member benefits. And you'll see there's the gold wallet. It says this bloke DM Tester has got 64.567, etc. grams. So let's click on that and we'll open that account. So now you can see there's a gold purchase that I did today, testing, making sure that bits and pieces of it work. But have a look down here, member benefits. And member benefits are deposited by grams into your wallet. Notice in the amount column, there is no money there. So it doesn't cost you anything. You haven't had to put money into something to make it work. You haven't had to work out how much it's going to cost. It's free. If you're a member, this is going to happen. That's why we built this business. We had one person just a week or so ago who tried to pull apart the AU4U process and say that the whole thing was a Ponzi scheme. Well, I'm not exactly sure how they came up with that, but it doesn't cost the members anything to get that. They're not putting any money in. They pay $300, they get all of it back in metal. Not quite sure where the Ponzi claim comes from. But hey, and you'll see over on the right-hand end of that, you'll see, I'll just see if I can get my little doohickey to come up here. And laser pointer, that's what I want. Yep. Okay, so over on the right-hand end, you can see there's notes there, and I've just been putting in testing 7 grams because that's a 7-gram transaction, testing vouchers. That's going to say in there what your member benefit is for. Now, it may be from physical arbitrage, which is what we're talking about tonight, and it may be from something else. Watch this space, because we are well underway with a number of other issues. And as always happens, you set out down a road, you got a great plan, and you follow all the directions, and you do A, B, C, and nothing happens for ages. And then all of a sudden, you find out that you got digital arbitrage coming online, you got physical arbitrage coming online, and you've got the ability to make direct deposits into a member's wallet. It would appear, strange as it may seem, that all the things we've been working on are coming to fruition at about the same time. Had lengthy conversations on the weekend with our token builders and our wallet builders. So we're working down that road as well. We are building a package that will deliver outcomes into your wallet that you don't have to fund. So it's not like you've got to spend $100 to get a $10 outcome. If you're buying your own metal every month, you qualify for these outcomes. And none of these outcomes in the physical arbitrage or the digital arbitrage pay any money into the compensation plan. All of that activity goes into the individual's wallets. There is no trail in the compensation plan. It's designed to benefit the members. That's it. That's why we built this system, to look after our members. And if there was a way to do it faster and you know it, call me. The only thing I can do is deliver this as fast as we possibly can. And it's been an interesting roadmap that we've been dealing with. But all three of those things, are currently underway. The digital arbitrage we're working on right now, the physical arbitrage, as you've just seen from those pictures, is underway. Where we haven't received it here yet, but we've got the photos. This is what we're sending, all that stuff. And the direct wallet deposits come from whatever the company makes, whatever the margins are that we've allocated for member benefits, it's going to show up in your wallet. You may get 3 or 4 different deposits in a month. Don't know yet. If we can keep them all on one time frame, we'll try and do it once a month because it's a bit labor intensive at the moment. But I've got to tell you, I'm really excited because this is finally coming together. Finally. And man, it's going to be good when it works because you will have the ability to show someone your wallet and say, do you want some free gold? Sign up here. Here's my link. And you get paid for that. You don't need to be a salesperson to succeed with Gold Rocks and AU for you. What we've just talked about is going to put metal, gold and silver into your wallet, irregardless of whether you recommend anybody or not. Be your own bank. Hold money in spendable assets. That's what we're about. Not cash, not plastic, spendable assets. Make sure that you understand the best way to protect yourself. And there's been plenty of videos out there about how you might do that. So let's look at some news. CNBC, what do they say? Oh, look at that. Our major markets fell in Asia today by 1% because OPEC and its allies have reached a deal. And what's the deal? They're going to phase out 5.8 million barrels per day of oil production by September 22. So over the next year, they're going to reduce the cutbacks, which means more oil is on the market. What will that do to the price? It will lower it. If you've noticed the price of fuel going up, that's because of those 5.8 million barrels a day of cutbacks because we weren't using it. The price of oil at one point last year went down to minus dollars per barrel. The oil companies were paying people to take it because they had nowhere to put it. They couldn't sell it. Okay, we've gone through that cycle. Now we're on the way back up. And now you're seeing OPEC decide that they're going to reduce their output or reduce the cutback, sorry, not their output. Okay, here's another one. Telegraph, UK. Investors are being urged to buy gold as inflation surges higher. Now have a look at the little image over on the right. It's a bloke going into a grocery shop with a pile of gold to buy a bottle of Coke. Isn't that interesting? They're already telling people in subtle ways that the currency is not going to survive. You need to have gold. And that's what we're about, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to that website, telegraph.co.uk, and look that story up. It's quite interesting. I read it today. It is beyond bizarre that here we are and mainstream media is now telling people, get gold. We will see a surge in the gold and silver price in the coming months. I promise you. It's going to happen. So, remember, we are approaching the end of the month again. There is a cutoff. Midday on the last weekday of the month is the cutoff. Midday. You can't call me at 9 o'clock on a Friday night on the 31st of the month and say, can you put my sale through? No, I can't, because the sale has to be placed by you. Then the payment's got to be transferred and received and processed. Then the order has to be lodged with the vault. And then it's all got to happen by noon at the latest on the last day of the month. So what I'm trying to tell you is, don't leave it till the last day. We'll do everything in our power to get your transaction through as often as we can, and to suit you the best way we can. In the coming weeks, we will have automatic orders in the website. The code's already been written. We're just arguing with the current programmers to get something else fixed before we implement it. But it's coming. You'll be able to just transfer the money and the order will happen. That'll be very cool. So, every week, the economic news is getting worse. Don't panic, Jonesy. We got gold and silver, baby. Real, physical gold and silver. I've shown you photos of the physical gold. And out of that gold will come some silver. Not sure how much, but some. It tends to be in an amalgam. Remember, everyone goes forward together. We are here. We've built this business to assist the members. Has anyone got any questions on what we've talked about tonight? As I'm at the end of my slides. If you've got some questions, type them in. What's the significance of the PV in the dashboard? There's a couple of different PV judgments there. All you've got to worry about is that you've done your 1 point value for the month. The PV that's in the dashboard is used to calculate strong leg, weak leg. So you'll get paid on the turnover of your weak leg. You'll get a bonus on that. And it just comes from the turnover of the metal. So it's nothing untoward. It's not really hard to work out. It's just a simple way to do it. Whatever the weak leg is in your binary, your pay leg, that's where you would get paid, is from that pay leg, which is the leg with the smallest number of PV. Any other questions? Okay. We've had some exciting stuff tonight. I got to tell you, I'm really excited about the gold. We've been working on that for a long time. And I say I've been involved only in the periphery on it. But Jan and Graham have brought this to fruition, the first one. We've got another one coming out of Africa and a couple of other potential suppliers as well. It's a long, drawn-out process. If you think that you should get it done in 5 minutes, let me tell you, I went to London a few years ago to close a deal with a bank that I thought would take 4 or 5 days. It took 9 months. Yep, I was pretty much in London for 9 months. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. We love Monday nights. Have a great week, and we will see you on the golden beaches of the world.